Yo, this is SoulDrum86 bringing you another video. I wanted to talk about something in particular that has always been missing from the 2K series. And I haven't actually heard many people, other than me, bring this type of stuff up. Now, I've heard other fans of the game give their opinions and talk in other comment sections about what they would want to see. And they kind of bring some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about up. But in order for me to get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I just want to go back and just give a little history on when 2K first took over the series. When 2K first took over the series, I was very excited because I've always been at that time up until very recently. What was it? 2K NBA 2K23 was my last 2K game that I bought, like NBA wise. I had always been a fan of NBA 2K. It got me a lot faster. I was one of the many. I don't even know if you should say many because people were still going for NBA Live around that time. So I'll just say I was one of the few who got attached to NBA 2K very fast. I felt like their attention to detail was better than NBA Live. All of the little, just they did all of the little things right, and it just instantly got me hooked. And when you look at NFL 2K, another franchise in the 2K series at that time where there was so much attention to detail, right? What do I mean by that? Well, ESPN NFL 2K5, if you play that game and go back, you look at the halftime show with Chris Berman, you look at the post game show, you look at the presentation overall when the game is getting ready to start, on top of what you see gameplay wise on the field, it mirrors and mimics a television broadcast if you're watching an NFL game. Same thing with NBA 2K. NBA 2K, even though I don't like that game like I used to, and I don't play it anymore, there's no denying that the people that make that game love the game of basketball. They pride themselves into making NBA 2K feel like you're watching an actual TNT broadcast. That helps with having Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie at the halftime show. And you see the pregame with the shoot around, the sideline reporters, in between quarters, they're acting like they're going to commercial break. When they come back from a quarter, it's like they've come back from a commercial break. You're seeing the highlights, halftime shows, halftime interviews before the halftime show, post-game interviews with the coaches or a star player. In the fourth quarter, they'll cut away and show highlights specifically to a player who has been pretty much is going to be the player of the game, or who has simply just kind of taken over in certain aspects of the game, even if they're not necessarily the player of the game. So you have all of these little details, all of these interviews. They're using the real players' voices because they're taking clips, sound bites from interviews in real life and things like that. And so 2K has been doing this forever. So when 2K was taking over for the WWE games, I personally was excited because I'm like, well, if the company that brought us the level of detail from that's in NFL 2K, which is a different dev team, and NBA 2K, which is a different dev team, I'm like, well, it's a no-brainer that they're going to bring that same level of attention to detail to the WWE series. And we haven't got it. We get entrances that look cool and look authentic to the real life entrances, but it kind of ends there, right? To go further into what I'm talking about, and more specifically, universe mode. I have been very outspoken about how I feel about universe mode. The last time I liked universe mode was WWE 12 and WWE 13. I love the spontaneous story that you kind of got, right? You didn't know what cutscene was going to happen. The cutscenes were very smart. Like, it had very logical booking to it. I remember if you just kind of play the mode and don't really tamper with anything and you just play it, the first match that you do on Monday Night Raw is Triple H versus The Miz. And I would win with Triple H. And after you see a cut scene of him, he's tired, after the match, getting ready to leave the ring. Brock Lesnar's music hits. Brock Lesnar comes down to the ring. uh, does a couple moves, hits you with an F5, and then that following week, it's Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in the main event. And it's either the start of the show or the main event. And during that match, Randy Orton gets involved. And so then it turns into a triple threat feud and so on and so forth. There's just all of these little details, all of these little things that I just preferred, about that version of the universe mode. It was more for me. But when you look at how universe mode is set up now, the one thing that 2K is missing is they're not making it feel like a show, right? It feels like you're typically just playing exhibition matches, and it's just you're watching certain cutscenes play through certain matches, because it doesn't even happen throughout all of the matches. It's only in what is a rivalry. So you're really kind of playing a glorified exhibition mode. And I think that's why players like me, only talking about players like me, is why we get so bored of universe mode, because there's not enough there to keep us engaged. I think they're lacking on the engagement part. And I can go further into detail about that. So in the universe mode, when THQ was doing it back in WWE 12 and things like that, there were so many little details. Again, I don't hear other YouTubers talk about this, but let's go for it. Whenever there was a number one contenders match, say you were on match 1 or match 2 of your card, you would hear Michael Cole say, "We have a number one contenders match coming up tonight." If you had your champion in the main event, during a match on the card, an early match on the card, might I add, you would hear Michael Cole say, "Folks, you don't want to go anywhere because you're going to see our champion in the main event tonight." And then Jerry the King Lawler would add to it. And whenever there was a pay-per-view coming up, you would see that the pay-per-view was coming up in however many days. It would literally give a countdown: 6 days until Over the Edge, 5 days until Over the Edge, a day away, Over the Edge this Sunday, blah, 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 blah. Like, you would see the poster of the pay-per-view pop up in between your matches on your card. And that just brought a level of immersion that was just awesome. And hearing the commentators bring things up like that. And after your pay-per-view, without failure, the first match of the night on Monday Night Raw, you would hear Michael Cole say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are less than 48 hours removed from one of the most exciting pay-per-views WWE has ever had." And I'm paraphrasing that line, but I remember him saying specifically, "We're less than 48 hours removed from X pay-per-view, whatever pay-per-view." And they would talk about the pay-per-view during the first match. And it's things like that that kind of kept you playing. It made it feel like there was an actual show on, not that you were just playing exhibition matches. And I think that WWE 2K needs to do that if they want to really make a difference. You can add in promos. That's all good. But it's about the other little things too, right? Let's pivot back over to NBA 2K and one of the things that they do that I absolutely love. So say if your team is on a losing streak or a winning streak, if a player has been playing poorly, if a player has been playing great, during games, they will literally highlight, show the stats at the bottom, and they will literally highlight those things that I mentioned. So if you're on a 5-game winning streak or a 10-game winning streak, the commentators each game will talk about it until you finally lose. And when you do finally lose, in that next game, the commentators will bring up that you finally lost the game. The commentators will bring up why you lost the game. They weren't shooting good from the free throw line. And if you look at your stats from the last game, it reflects that. So the commentary isn't only accurate, it's smart, because it's actually picking out stats that you might have had that caused you to either win or lose. And they bring this up. I remember when they first started doing that in NBA 2K, I was honestly floored by it. I was seriously floored by it. I was like, wow. I was like, man, you want to talk about a level of detail. And it just brought this immersion, and you just kind of get sucked in. And now with WWE 2K, we don't get that. Just think about how cool it would be. You're playing your universe mode, right? And the first match, you hear Michael Cole or Corey Graves say, the women's champion, we're going to hear from her next because that segment is next. You have a promo set up. And so they literally tell you, they don't have to necessarily say the name of who it is, but just for you to hear them during the match say, listen, guys, coming up next, we've got the women's champion, or we have the number one contender is going to come out and talk, or we're going to hear from such and such. If there's a number one contenders match, like I just mentioned that the THQ games used to do, actually have the commentators talk about how there's a number one contenders match, or our champion is putting the title on the line in the main event against such and such. When you hear these commentary beats throughout your show, it will make it feel like you're actually experiencing a show, right? It's because you set your show up. It is fun to set things up in universe mode. I'm not going to lie about it. I've talked about it many times on video. I think when you're doing your universe mode setup, that actually is a lot of the fun. The fun kind of ends when you start playing the matches and seeing the cutscenes, and everything ahead of time. At least for me, it just gets kind of. But one thing that I personally believe that can help that out is having the commentary be like it used to be, or take inspiration from what NBA 2K does. I think that it would benefit the players to hear the commentators talk about how a PLE is coming up. Guys, we've got Fastlane coming up, and this rivalry has been brewing up. In between, make the show kind of have more of a flow. Remember when they used to have the next button, and they got rid of that for some reason, and you had to go all the way back to the menu of universe mode to the show instead of just continuing to go. So the show has a flow. The show no longer has a flow, and players used to complain about that. I remember when they first took that away, I remember people making videos about it. I remember people in the comment sections talking. They would always say, like, why did they get rid of the next match feature? Because that used to have the show's flow so well. I think the last time that they had the next match feature was 2K19 or 2K20. I think it wasn't until like 2K22, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't until 2K22 where they got rid of that next match feature, and it started taking you completely out, and then you had to pretty much go back into continuing your night. I think that in order for 2K to make universe mode feel really special, it's going to have to take more than just promos. It's going to have to take maybe implementing something called segment, right? So when you're setting up your universe mode, you have your matches and how many matches that you're going to plan for, and segments and how many segments you're going to plan for throughout the night. So I can choose to have, okay, there's going to be a backstage brawl. There's going to be a brawl in the parking lot at the end of the night, maybe in the beginning of the night. I'm going to have a promo here, and then I'm going to have a backstage promo take place here. And have the commentators talk about what's coming up next. Icing on the cake, in between matches, when a match is done, like when you finish a match, instead of it just immediately going to the next part, you see Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton, and the camera angle is on them, much like in real life when the camera angle is on the commentators and you're looking at them and they're talking to the screen. Actually implement a camera view like that where you see the commentators talking about what just happened, whether the match was awesome, whether something crazy just happened. And it can be very vague because it's like that with NBA 2K. They kind of vaguely talk about things. They won't necessarily be in detail a lot of the times of talking about like who in particular all the time. They won't necessarily always use the name. They'll say he and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think for 2K to be next level, I think that's a part of being next level. If you're going to have a show where somebody is building our show, if you're going to have a mode where somebody is building their own show, then make it feel like a show. Don't make it feel like a glorified exhibition mode. Again, personally, universe mode is not my thing, but if universe mode is better, I can see myself playing it more this year. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think that's about it, man. That's pretty much it. I don't really need to say much more than that, but I just think that they need to work on adding immersion. It's not just about adding in the features because we know how 2K is when they add features. Everything is typically half-assed, right? And if that's too negative for people, man, I'm sorry, but I just call it like I see it. Um, I want these games to do well because I play these games all the time. As much as I talk about 2K, as much negativity as it might be towards the franchise, there is still fun to be had in the game. I just wish that they could care more. I just wish that they would care more. Um, you just always want people making these games you want it to seem like they actually love the actual thing that they're creating. They actually are a fan. Like when you look at the detail that was in NFL 2K, you can look back and say, man, these devs really love the NFL. These devs really love the NFL product. When you look at NBA 2K, you have no choice but to look back and think to yourself, damn, man, like the level of detail that these guys put, like they love the game of basketball. They love NBA basketball. Because if they didn't, all of these little details wouldn't be in the game, right? I mean, the list goes on and on of what NBA 2K has in it in terms of level of detail, presentation, all of that stuff. All of that stuff matters. I guess at the end of the day, what this video is mainly about is WWE 2K needs to really up their game on the presentation and making their product feel like you're really watching the TV show, especially when you're building a universe mode. There's a lot of people who love universe mode, man. And for those people who love universe mode, I just want them to not only be satisfied with the product, but I want 2K to bring me along with them because they finally have made the mode something that we all want to play. But you got to make it feel like it's a show going on. If it feels like exhibition, I think that's why I play so many exhibition matches, because a lot of the times I'll do things with my imagination. I won't talk out loud or anything like that, but I will set up matches, even if I'm using current talent today. I will set up matches, and in my mind, I will have a storyline kind of playing out. Not too long ago, actually, I did I had New Day win the tag team championships, and how I did it, and then I kind of implemented the whole turn on Big E. So I had it to where I was Big E and I fought both Kofi and Xavier Woods in a handicap match and I won. You know what I mean? Like I was just kind of doing my own thing because it's kind of what you are already doing in universe mode. So it's like you really don't need universe mode. But where universe mode can come in handy is and actually mean something is if you just make it feel like it's a show. And I think it's pretty easy to make it feel like it's a show, because if NBA 2K can make, even if you're just playing play now 5v5 in NBA 2K, and they can make it feel like you're watching a game on TNT, I have no doubt in my mind that WWE 2K can do the same thing. They can easily do the same thing. But you just need Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton to come in and record new commentary that will reflect what's going to happen in somebody's universe mode. Because again, what somebody is going to do in their universe mode, it's going to be what 2K allows us to do. So all 2K would have to do is just have Corey Graves and Michael Cole and them record commentary for every possible outcome story that you can choose from. Just have them talk like that. Have it set and programmed to when there's a PLE coming up, they mention that PLE coming up. The Monday Night Raw and SmackDown after a PLE, commentators mention it. I think that would be cool. Those are the type of game changing things that I want to see in WWE 2K. But that's about it, guys. I'm not trying to really be here long. This video is already longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's really kind of what I wanted to get off my chest because it's more than just adding the features. I think you also have to add that tender loving care to it. You got to add that TLC to it, man. Promos are great that we have them back. I'm hoping that you can do promos backstage and not just in the ring. When they said that there's different options, I'm hoping, and they even said different cutscenes. I'm really, really hoping that that doesn't just involve anything that's just around the ring, because that's another issue with 2K is when it comes to universe mode, there's too many things that center just being ringside. Anybody who's watched wrestling, whether you've watched wrestling for as long as I have, or you're watching the product now, storylines do take place backstage as well. Not everything in wrestling takes place around the ring, but yet 2K, the vast majority, if not all of the cutscenes that are available to you, it's all things that are centered around what's going to happen before, during, or after a match. And that's it. What's going to happen before, during, or after a match. They need to expand it. What's going to happen in the locker room? What is going to happen in the parking lot, right? I want to be able to choose what's going to happen in the parking lot. Backstage where the pop machine is, where the interview section is. We need cutscenes in areas like that. Way more cutscenes in areas like that to actually be able to fill out a story, right? But that's all I got for you guys today, man. Let me know what you feel in the comment section. It's your boy Soldier. I'm 86, and I'm out. Peace.